Egypt, ancient, storied, and for centuries ruled by the Greek Ptolemies, stood as a beacon of culture and power. Alexandria, its capital, was famed for its library and lighthouse, a hub of knowledge and trade. But the dynasty's last ruler, Cleopatra VII, was different. She embraced Egyptian language and religion, presenting herself as the goddess Isis. A shrewd leader, Cleopatra fought to keep Egypt independent as the Ptolemaic Golden Age faded. Rome's grip on Egypt tightened gradually, turning the Ptolemies into dependent clients. Cleopatra, recognizing Rome's dominance, forged alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony, hoping to secure Egypt's future. Their partnership, both romantic and political, challenged Rome's new leader, Octavian, setting the stage for a final confrontation. Rome itself was in turmoil. The Republic, overwhelmed by its own expansion, was torn by social strife and civil war. Ambitious generals like Marius, Sulla and Pompey vied for power, eroding old Republican values and paving the way for warlords to dominate the political landscape. The assassination of Julius Caesar plunged Rome into chaos, leading to the rise of the Second Triumvirate, Octavian, Antony and Lepidus, who divided the Roman world among themselves. Antony took the east and soon allied with Cleopatra, drawn by her resources and charisma. Their alliance, both strategic and passionate, aimed to secure their power, but would ultimately provoke Rome's wrath and set the stage for a final confrontation. The showdown came at Actium in 31 BC. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet was outmaneuvered by Octavian's admiral Agrippa. Cleopatra's sudden retreat led Antony to abandon the fight, sealing their defeat. Their dream of an Eastern Empire collapsed, and Egypt's fate was sealed. Octavian, now Augustus, made Egypt his personal domain, Rome's breadbasket and treasury. He barred senators from entering without permission, ensuring no rival could seize its wealth or raise an army there. Egypt became the emperor's private estate, tightly controlled from the top. Augustus imposed a strict bureaucracy focused on taxation. Egypt was divided into nomes, each run by a Roman strategos. Local elites were co-opted for administration, bearing heavy burdens to meet tax quotas. This system maximized revenue for Rome, often at great cost to Egyptians. Alexandria, once a royal capital, became a provincial seat under Rome. Still a vital trade hub, it was denied self-governance, fueling resentment among its Greek elite. Only centuries later did the city gain a council, reflecting Rome's deep mistrust of its volatile population. Egypt's security relied on a permanent Roman garrison, initially 3 legions, later reduced but always formidable. The prefect of Egypt commanded these forces, preventing any senator from seizing military power. The legions, supported by auxiliaries, ensured the emperor's grip on the province. Roman soldiers in Egypt did more than fight. They enforced tax collection, maintained order, and built infrastructure. Their engineering skills supported agriculture and public works, but their presence also reminded Egyptians that their land now served Rome's interests above all. While internal security was a primary concern, the Roman army in Egypt was also tasked with defending the province's vast and challenging frontiers. To the west lay the vast expanse of the Libyan desert, home to nomadic tribes who could threaten the scattered oases and the western edge of the Nile Valley. To the east, the Arabian desert posed a similar threat, but the most significant and active frontier was to the south, in the region known as Nubia, or Kush. Here the Romans inherited a long-standing border conflict from the Ptolemies with the powerful kingdom of Meroe, a sophisticated civilization centered further up the Nile. Shortly after the Roman conquest in 25 BC, the Meroitic queen, known as the Candace Amanirenas, launched a major raid into southern Egypt, attacking Roman garrisons at Syene and Philae and even carrying off a bronze head from a statue of Emperor Augustus. The Roman response was swift and brutal. The prefect Gaius Petronius led a punitive expedition deep into Nubia, sacking the city of Napata and forcing the Meroites to sue for peace. Following this campaign, a permanent and heavily fortified southern border was established at Hiera Sykaminos, marking the limit of direct Roman control and creating a buffer zone between the province and the Meroitic Kingdom. The Roman arrival layered a new, rigid hierarchy onto Ptolemaic Egypt's existing social pyramid. Roman citizens, a small group of officials, officers and veterans, sat at the apex. They held power and exemptions, residing mainly in Alexandria and fortresses. Their position demonstrated Roman authority. Below them were the Greeks, the Hellenized elite of cities like Alexandria. They retained privileges, dominating civic life and holding administrative positions. This intermediary class maintained status between Roman rulers and the Egyptian population. The economy of Roman Egypt was utterly dominated by agriculture. The annual flooding of the Nile River deposited fertile silt, creating an agricultural paradise. The Romans focused on maximizing production and perfecting the system of collection. They maintained the irrigation canals to ensure a bountiful harvest. The primary product was grain, specifically wheat and barley. Egypt's grain production was the principal reason for its immense value to the Roman Empire. This grain was transported down the Nile to Alexandria, where it was stored in massive granaries before being shipped to Rome. This grain fleet was the lifeline that fed the capital's massive population. Beyond its agricultural might, Roman Egypt was a vibrant center of industry and a crucial hub for international trade. The city of Alexandria was not just the exit point for Egyptian grain. It was also a major manufacturing center in its own right. Its workshops produced high-quality glass, fine linens, pottery, and luxury items like perfumes and jewelry. The papyrus industry, centered in the Delta, was a near monopoly, supplying the paper equivalent to the entire Roman world for its administrative records, literature, and personal correspondence. These industries, combined with the processing of agricultural goods, made the province an economic powerhouse that exported finished goods as well as raw materials. Egypt's unique geographical position, bridging the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, made it the gateway for Rome's lucrative trade with the East. Goods from Arabia, India, and even as far as China flowed into the Red Sea ports of Myos, Hormos, and Berenice. From there, caravans, protected by the Roman military, trekked across the eastern desert to the Nile, where the goods were transferred to boats and floated downriver to Alexandria. Spices like pepper and cinnamon, silks, precious gems, and exotic animals were brought west, while Roman goods like wine, metalwork, and glass were sent east. This trade brought immense wealth into the province, and, well, the customs duties collected on it were a significant source of revenue for the emperor's treasury. When Rome conquered Egypt, it did not impose its own gods. The Romans were generally tolerant in religious matters. They encountered a pantheon of gods that had been worshipped along the Nile for 3,000 years. Life continued to revolve around the worship of their ancient deities. Gods like Horus, Thoth, and Sobek remained central to the spiritual life of the villages and towns in the Nile Valley. The local temples continued to function much as they had under the pharaohs. These were not just places of worship, but also major economic and cultural centers. The priesthood continued to perform the ancient daily rituals. For the ordinary Egyptian, these temples were the tangible link to the divine. The old ways were resilient. The Romans introduced the Imperial Cult, a state-sponsored veneration of the emperor, fostering loyalty across the empire. In Egypt, this cult built upon the tradition of the divine ruler. Temples were dedicated to emperors, and priests oversaw their worship. This practice was a mandatory expression of political allegiance, demonstrating loyalty to Rome. The cult was prominent in Alexandria, fused with the worship of the goddess Roma. Festivals and sacrifices were held in the emperor's honor, reinforcing the empire's might. Participation in the imperial cult was a crucial part of public life, a statement that all were subjects of the divine emperor. Among the deities worshipped in Roman Egypt, Isis achieved widespread popularity across the entire Roman Empire. Isis was the great mother goddess. Under the Romans, her cult became a major international religion. She was seen as a universal savior, a compassionate mother who offered her followers protection and rebirth. Her cult was a mystery religion, meaning its central rituals were revealed only to initiates. Temples to Isis, known as Iseums, sprang up in port cities and urban centers. Her iconography, the goddess nursing her infant son, became one of the most recognizable religious images of the age. The Roman conquest of Egypt did not bring an end to the grand tradition of temple building that had defined the landscape of the Nile Valley for millennia. Instead, the early Roman emperors, particularly those of the Julio-Claudian and Flavian dynasties, embraced this tradition as a powerful tool of statecraft. They continued the practice of the Ptolemaic kings before them, funding the construction and completion of magnificent temples dedicated to the ancient Egyptian gods. This architectural patronage served a crucial political purpose. By acting as pious pharaohs, Roman emperors legitimized their rule in the eyes of the Egyptian people and the influential native priesthood, seamlessly inserting themselves into a 3,000-year-old lineage of divine kingship and cosmic stewardship. These temples were built in a purely traditional Egyptian style, almost indistinguishable from those of the New Kingdom or Ptolemaic eras. They featured massive pylons, open-air courtyards, hyper-style halls with towering columns, and dimly lit inner sanctuaries. The walls were covered in intricate hieroglyphic inscriptions and detailed reliefs carved according to the ancient artistic canons. However, a closer look reveals the new reality of Roman power. Amidst the images of Horus, Isis and Amun-Ra, the figure of the Roman emperor appears, depicted in the full regalia of a pharaoh, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt and making offerings to the gods, a visible statement of continuity and control. The Roman period witnessed the final flourishing of monumental Egyptian temple construction, a last great burst of architectural energy before the old religion began its slow decline. These structures stand today as some of the best preserved temples in all of Egypt, precisely because they were the last to be built. The Temple of Horus at Edfu, though primarily a Ptolemaic construction, was finally completed under Roman rule. Its massive scale, perfect preservation, and the completeness of its inscriptions provide an unparalleled window into the religious and architectural world that the Romans inherited and, for a time, chose to sustain. It represents the culmination of centuries of pharaonic architectural evolution sponsored by Greek and Roman masters. Further south, near the traditional border of Egypt and Nubia, lies the island of Philae, a sacred site dedicated to the goddess Isis. The Romans added significantly to the existing temple complex, which became one of the most important pilgrimage centers in the entire empire. The Kiosk of Trajan, an elegant and unfinished pavilion with towering floral columns, remains one of the most iconic images of Roman Egypt. It was a gateway to the sanctuary of Isis, a place where the Roman emperor honored the most beloved of the Egyptian goddesses, whose cult was by then captivating followers across the Mediterranean world, from the shores of Egypt to the city of Rome itself. The first centuries of Roman rule in Egypt were characterized by stability and systematic exploitation. Following the chaos of the late Ptolemaic era, the Pax Romana brought an end to conflict. The province settled into a rhythm, governed by the emperor's prefect and legions. This peace allowed agriculture and trade to flourish. Augustus's administrative machinery ensured grain ships sailed on time and tax revenues flowed into the treasury, solidifying Egypt's role as the empire's economic bedrock. Cultural toleration allowed ancient religious traditions to continue. Temples were maintained with imperial funds, and emperors were depicted as pharaohs. The Roman tax system siphoned off the province's wealth, burdening the peasant farmers. The relative calm of the first 2 centuries came to an abrupt end in the 3rd century, a period known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century that shook the entire Roman Empire to its foundations. Decades of civil war, rapid turnover of emperors, rampant inflation, and barbarian invasions on the frontiers created widespread instability. Egypt was not immune to this chaos. The province suffered from military usurpations, economic disruption, and new external threats. The firm grip that the central government in Rome had held over the province began to weaken, and the carefully calibrated system of administration and exploitation started to break down under the immense pressure of the empire-wide crisis. One of the most significant threats came from the south and east. The Ptolemies, a nomadic people from the eastern desert, began to launch increasingly bold raids into the Nile Valley, threatening towns and disrupting trade routes. In the 260s, the short-lived Palmyrene Empire, based in Syria and led by the warrior Queen Zenobia, briefly seized control of Egypt, severing it from Roman authority. The Roman Emperor Aurelian eventually reconquered the province, but these events shattered the illusion of impenetrable security that had defined the early Roman period. The military had to be reconfigured to deal with these new, more mobile threats, and the sense of permanent stability was lost for good. The reforms of the emperors Diocletian and Constantine at the turn of the 4th century marked the beginning of a new era, often termed later Roman or Byzantine Egypt. The province underwent a radical administrative overhaul. Egypt was divided into several smaller provinces, breaking its monolithic unity and bringing it more in line with the rest of the empire. The old distinction between the emperor's personal province and senatorial provinces was abolished. A new, more complex bureaucracy was put in place, and the military and civil commands were separated. This was a fundamental reshaping of the government, moving away from the Augustan model towards the structure of the later Byzantine state. The most profound transformation of this period was the rise of Christianity. After centuries of persecution, Emperor Constantine's conversion in the early 4th century made Christianity the favored religion of the empire. In Egypt, this shift was embraced with fervent enthusiasm. The church grew rapidly in wealth and power, developing a strong hierarchical structure under the authority of the powerful bishop or pope of Alexandria. Monasticism, a new form of intense religious devotion, was born in the Egyptian deserts, with charismatic figures like St. Anthony attracting thousands of followers who sought to renounce the world for a life of prayer and asceticism. Egypt became a heartland of Christian thought and spirituality. Roman rule in Egypt wasn't a simple replacement, but a lasting transformation. The legions of Augustus absorbed a civilization, recognizing the immense value of its new prize. Rome imposed a rigid system of governance to extract wealth. Grain, gold and porphyry flowed from the Nile Valley, reshaping the Egyptian economy. This new order was built upon military power. The Roman garrison enforced the peace, protected tax collectors and engineered infrastructure. This brought stability, but it was dictated by a foreign master serving Rome's interests above all else. The story of Roman Egypt is not merely one of what Rome did to Egypt, but also of what Egypt gave to Rome. The influence flowed both ways, and the treasures that the empire received were not just material. The most immediate and tangible gift was, of course, the grain. The annual shipment from Alexandria was the lifeblood of the capital, the foundation of the emperor's ability to maintain social order and political power. But Egypt also gave the Roman world papyrus, the essential medium for communication, administration, and literature. It provided the empire with exquisite glass, fine linens, and the hard, beautiful stones that became the ultimate symbols of imperial luxury and permanence, shaping the very look and feel of the city of Rome. Beyond these material goods, Egypt exported its gods. The cults of Isis and Serapis, nurtured in the multicultural crucible of Hellenistic and Roman Egypt, became international phenomena. They offered a brand of personal, emotional and salvific religion that proved immensely appealing across the vast and diverse empire. In a world often characterized by impersonal state cults, the mysteries of Isis provided a sense of community, divine compassion, and the promise of an afterlife. The spread of these Egyptian cults throughout the Mediterranean prepared the Roman mind for new religious ideas from the East, creating a spiritual landscape in which another faith, Christianity, would eventually find purchase and flourish. The 7 centuries of Roman dominion mark a pivotal bridge in Egypt's narrative. This era signals the definitive end of the pharaonic world, a civilization that had endured for 3 millennia. The Roman conquest integrated the Nile Valley into the Mediterranean world. Yet even as ancient traditions faded, new forms of expression emerged, none more evocative than the haunting Fayum portraits. Painted nearly 2,000 years ago, the Fayum portraits are among the most vivid and personal relics of Roman Egypt. Created between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD, these lifelike images adorned the faces of mummified bodies, bridging the worlds of the living and the dead. They are found mostly in the Fayum region, west of the Nile, but their influence spread across the land. The artists who crafted these portraits used the encaustic technique, mixing coloured pigments with hot beeswax and applying them to wooden panels. This method allowed for remarkable depth, luminosity and durability. The result? Eyes that seem to gaze across centuries, skin tones that glow with life, and expressions that capture individuality and emotion. The wooden panels, often made from native sycamore or imported cedar, were carefully prepared. Artists layered rich colours, reds, ochres and deep blacks, using fine brushes and heated tools. Gold leaf sometimes adorned jewellery or clothing, highlighting the status of the deceased. Each portrait was unique, a testament to the sitter's identity, wealth and aspirations. The people depicted in the Fayum portraits were a blend of cultures, Egyptian, Greek, Roman and others, reflecting the cosmopolitan world of Roman Egypt. Their hairstyles, clothing and jewellery reveal shifting fashions and social status. Some wear traditional Egyptian amulets, while others display Roman togas or Greek-style tunics. The portraits capture a society in transition where ancient beliefs mingled with new customs. These images were not mere decorations. They served a profound funerary purpose, attached to the mummified bodies and placed in tombs. The portraits were meant to preserve the memory and presence of the deceased, ensuring recognition in the afterlife. They are a poignant fusion of Egyptian spiritual tradition and Greco-Roman realism. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of these portraits, often remarkably well preserved by the dry desert sands. Each discovery is a moment of connection, a face from antiquity meeting the gaze of the modern world. Today, the Fayum portraits are displayed in museums across the globe, celebrated for their artistry and humanity. Art historians regard the Fayum portraits as the earliest true-to-life painted portraits in history. Their influence echoes through the centuries, inspiring later traditions of portraiture in both East and West. They remind us that beneath the trappings of empire and the passage of time, the desire to be remembered, to be seen, remains universal. The language of administration shifted and hieroglyphics slowly faded. The Roman period represents a profound break with the past, a closing of the door on ancient Egypt. The ruins of Roman fortresses stand in the desert. Temples completed under Roman patronage are preserved in detail. But in the Fayum portraits, the faces of a lost world endure, silent, watchful and alive. The Fayum mummy portraits reveal the faces of the multicultural elite, a symbol of cultural fusion. In their gaze we glimpse the enduring echoes of a world transformed, where Egypt's ancient soul met the new realities of Rome, and where art became a bridge across time. The Ptolemaic Kingdom, a vibrant thread in ancient history, shimmered with Greek intellect and Egyptian tradition. For 3 centuries, it stood as a beacon of power in the Mediterranean. It began with Alexander the Great, whose conquests forged new destinies. His arrival in Egypt in 332 BC was seen as liberation, and he was crowned pharaoh. This planted the seeds of a new kingdom. After Alexander's death, his empire fell into chaos. Ptolemy, a trusted commander, secured Egypt, establishing a dynasty that would last nearly 300 years. The Ptolemaic Kingdom was born. Ptolemy the Soter established his capital in Alexandria, declaring himself pharaoh. His reign began a remarkable chapter where Greek rulers navigated an ancient land, shaping a unique Greco-Egyptian identity. The Ptolemaic dynasty represented a fascinating and unprecedented cultural experiment. Here, 2 powerful civilizations, those of Greece and Egypt, were brought into direct and continuous contact. The new Greek rulers did not simply impose their own ways upon the land they now controlled. Instead, they engaged in a careful and strategic process of adaptation and synthesis. They understood that to rule Egypt effectively, they needed the support of its people and its powerful priesthood. This led to a remarkable blending of traditions, creating a society that was Hellenistic in its administration and intellectual pursuits, yet profoundly Egyptian in its spiritual and ceremonial life. This fusion was visible everywhere, from the royal court to the smallest farming village. The Ptolemaic pharaohs, including the famous Cleopatra VII, presented themselves in a dual manner. To their Greek-speaking administrators and soldiers, they were Hellenistic monarchs, patrons of art and science. Yet on the walls of the grand temples they constructed, they were depicted in the traditional style of the pharaohs, making offerings to ancient Egyptian gods like Horus, Isis, and Osiris. This duality was the cornerstone of their political strategy, allowing them to maintain authority over a diverse population and project an image of continuity with Egypt's glorious past. Alexandria, the kingdom's magnificent capital, became the ultimate symbol of this new world. It was a cosmopolitan metropolis, home to Greeks, Egyptians, Jews, and people from across the Mediterranean. Its legendary Great Library and Museum turned the city into the intellectual epicenter of the ancient world. Scholars, scientists, philosophers, and poets flocked to its institutions, making groundbreaking discoveries in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The city itself was a masterpiece of Greek urban planning, with wide streets and grand public buildings, yet its heart beat to the rhythm of the Nile, its wealth drawn from the ancient agricultural bounty of the Egyptian countryside. The story of the Ptolemaic Kingdom is therefore not just a tale of kings and conquests, but a deeper exploration of cultural interaction. It is the story of how a foreign dynasty successfully integrated into one of the world's oldest civilizations, creating something entirely new in the process. We will journey through its rise to immense power, witness the flourishing of its unique culture, and explore the internal conflicts and external pressures that ultimately led to its dramatic downfall. This is the chronicle of the last pharaohs of Egypt, a dynasty of Greek origin that wrote the final, brilliant chapter of a 3,000-year-old saga before yielding to the rising power of Rome. Alexander the Great's death in 323 BC triggered shockwaves across his empire. The world held its breath. The king was gone, leaving a power vacuum. He had no clear heir. His generals, the Diadochi, carved up the world. Decades of conflict, the wars of the successors, replaced unity. Each general saw himself as the rightful heir. Ptolemy set his sights on Egypt. He knew Egypt was secure and prosperous. It was a land that could sustain itself. Ptolemy moved swiftly to consolidate his control. Ptolemy was determined to thrive, establishing a lasting kingdom. Ptolemy's first and most audacious act was the hijacking of Alexander the Great's funeral cortege. The body of the deified conqueror was being transported back to Macedon for burial, a procession of immense symbolic importance. Perdiccas, the imperial regent, intended to use the burial to legitimize his own authority. However, Ptolemy intercepted the procession in Syria and diverted it to Egypt. This was an act of breathtaking defiance. By bringing Alexander's body to Memphis, and later to a magnificent tomb in Alexandria, Ptolemy was making a powerful statement. He was positioning himself as the true successor, the guardian of Alexander's legacy, and linking his own destiny directly to that of the celebrated hero. This bold move was a direct challenge to Perdiccas and the central authority of the empire, inevitably leading to war. In 321 BC, Perdiccas marched his grand imperial army to the borders of Egypt, determined to crush the defiant satrap. The ensuing conflict was a critical test for Ptolemy. He faced a numerically superior force led by the empire's most powerful man. Yet Ptolemy's strategic genius and the natural defences of the Nile proved decisive. He successfully repelled Perdiccas' attempts to cross the river, inflicting heavy casualties on the invading army. The failure was a humiliation for Perdiccas, whose own troops, demoralized and resentful, assassinated him in his tent. The defeat and death of Perdiccas dramatically altered the political landscape. Ptolemy's victory not only secured his hold on Egypt, but also elevated his status among the other Diadochi. He was no longer just a clever opportunist, he was a proven military commander who had successfully defended his realm against the full might of the empire. He prudently declined the offer to become the new regent, preferring to consolidate his power base in Egypt rather than get entangled in the chaotic politics of the wider empire. This decision showcased his remarkable foresight, a quality that would serve him well in the turbulent decades that followed. Over the next 20 years, Ptolemy continued to navigate the treacherous waters of the successor wars. He engaged in conflicts across the eastern Mediterranean, fighting to secure buffer zones for Egypt in Cyrene, Cyprus, and the Levant. He fought against the formidable Antigonus the One-Eyed, who sought to reunite Alexander's empire under his own rule. Though he suffered occasional setbacks, Ptolemy's primary focus never wavered from his Egyptian stronghold. Each campaign was carefully calculated to protect his core territory and enhance its wealth and security. He was patiently laying the groundwork for a kingdom that would endure for generations to come. By 305 BC, Alexander's unified empire was dead. The most powerful Diadochi, including Ptolemy, declared themselves kings. Ptolemy I became king of Egypt, adopting the title Basileus and the traditional title of pharaoh. His reign marked the beginning of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Ptolemy defended Rhodes against Demetrius, earning the title Soter, meaning saviour. Ptolemy's rule was characterized by effective administration and a highly centralized bureaucracy. In 285 BC, Ptolemy abdicated, making his son co-regent. He left behind a stable and powerful kingdom. Ptolemy I transformed Alexandria into the glittering capital of his kingdom. He founded the Great Library and the Museum, intellectual hubs of the Mediterranean world. The library aimed to collect all the world's knowledge, attracting scholars, scientists, and philosophers. Ptolemy understood that power was about cultural prestige, positioning his kingdom at the forefront of Hellenistic civilization. Ptolemy initiated religious syncretism, promoting the cult of Serapis, a deity for both Greeks and Egyptians. This blending of traditions created a shared cultural framework for their diverse kingdom. Ptolemy I Soter's groundwork came to fruition under his son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, who ascended to the throne in 283 BC. His reign ushered in the golden age of the Ptolemaic Kingdom, peace, prosperity, and cultural brilliance. Philadelphus was a master diplomat, shrewd administrator, and patron of the arts and sciences. He elevated Ptolemaic Egypt to the apex of its power and influence. He married his sister, Arsinoe II, a practice imitating ancient Egyptian tradition to concentrate power within the royal family. Arsinoe was a formidable co-ruler who exerted considerable influence. Centralized control generated staggering revenues strategically deployed for public works like the Pharos Lighthouse. Philadelphus maintained Egypt's dominance through military strength and diplomacy, solidifying its status as a superpower. The Ptolemaic Kingdom reached its greatest territorial extent during the reign of Ptolemy III, Euergetes. Euergetes launched the Third Syrian War to avenge his sister's murder. Ptolemy III led his army deep into enemy territory, reaching as far as Babylon. At its zenith, the Ptolemaic sphere of influence was immense, controlling Egypt, Libya, Cyprus, numerous Aegean islands, and coastal regions in Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon. This maritime empire was sustained by the most powerful navy in the Mediterranean. This political and military dominance was built upon an unparalleled economic foundation, with the agricultural wealth of the Nile Valley at its core. The Ptolemies managed grain production on an industrial scale. Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean during this golden age. Beyond agriculture, the Ptolemies fostered a vibrant and diverse economy, controlling trade routes for African elephants and luxury goods. Royal monopolies were established over key industries, ensuring that economic activity flowed into the state's coffers. This combination created a level of wealth that was the envy of the ancient world. The Ptolemaic rulers, particularly Philadelphus and Euergetes, were patrons of knowledge, earning them the title of scholar kings. Their most brilliant achievement was the continued expansion of the Great Library and Museum of Alexandria. These institutions were the heart of the Hellenistic intellectual world. The Ptolemies invested vast sums, viewing cultural supremacy as important as military might. They recruited brilliant minds, offering stipends and an environment for research. The library's collection grew to an astonishing size, with the mission to acquire a copy of every significant book ever written. Discoveries from the museum laid foundations for modern science. This flourishing was a direct consequence of the Ptolemies' vision. The Ptolemaic kings understood that by controlling knowledge they enhanced their power. Alexandria was the intellectual capital of the world. During its ascendant period, Alexandria became the quintessential Hellenistic city, a vibrant and cosmopolitan metropolis that was, quite frankly, a world unto itself. Its population swelled with people from every corner of the known world, Greeks who came as soldiers and administrators, Egyptians who flocked to the city for work, a large and influential Jewish community, and traders from Phoenicia, Syria, and beyond. This cultural melting pot created a dynamic and innovative urban environment. Greek was the language of government and high culture, but walking through the city's markets and alleyways, one would have heard a dozen different languages spoken. This diversity fueled an explosion of creativity in art, literature, and philosophy. The city's physical appearance was breathtaking, a testament to the wealth and ambition of its rulers. The Grand Canopic Way, the city's main thoroughfare, was lined with magnificent colonnades, temples, and gymnasia. At one end of the harbour stood the colossal Pharos lighthouse, its beacon visible for miles out at sea, a symbol of the city's welcome to the world. At the other end was the Royal Quarter, a vast complex of palaces, gardens, and administrative buildings overlooking the water. The city was a masterpiece of urban design, a planned city built to inspire awe and project an image of absolute power and limitless prosperity. The jewel in the Ptolemaic crown. Art and literature flourished in this stimulating environment. Alexandrian poetry, exemplified by figures like Callimachus and Theocritus, developed a new style. It was often learned, witty, and focused on individual emotion and everyday life, a departure from the grand epic traditions of classical Greece. Sculpture and other visual arts also developed a distinct style, blending the idealism of Greek art with a greater degree of realism and, in some cases, incorporating Egyptian motifs. This artistic output was not just for the elite. The city was filled with public art and entertainment, from theatrical performances to religious festivals, creating a rich cultural tapestry for all its inhabitants. This was the Ptolemaic Kingdom at its peak, powerful, wealthy, and intellectually supreme. From the military victories of Ptolemy III to the scholarly pursuits in the Great Library, the kingdom projected an aura of confidence and success. Alexandria stood as the ultimate symbol of this achievement, a city that was both the administrative centre of a mighty empire and the cultural capital of the Hellenistic age. It was truly a golden era where the fusion of Greek ingenuity and Egyptian resources created one of the most brilliant civilizations of antiquity. Ptolemaic Egypt had a complex social structure defined by ethnicity and language. The king and Greek nobles were at the top, followed by officials and landowners. Below them were Greek settlers, soldiers, merchants, and scholars. The majority were native Egyptians, farmers, labourers, and artisans at the bottom. A divided legal system favoured Greeks, causing tension and revolts. Over time, a mixed population emerged through intermarriage and cultural exchange, blurring social lines. Identities transformed in Ptolemaic Egypt's unique cultural environment. Religion in Ptolemaic Egypt saw the fusion of the ancient Egyptian pantheon with Greek deities. The Ptolemaic rulers embraced Egyptian religion, supporting temples and presenting themselves as pharaohs. The god Serapis, combining Osiris, Apis, Bull, Zeus, Hades, and Asclepius, was created to appeal to both Greeks and Egyptians. His main cult center was the Serapeum in Alexandria. Traditional Egyptian gods like Isis flourished, her worship spreading far beyond Egypt. The Ptolemies restored and expanded temples. Egyptians identified their gods with Greek counterparts, creating a shared religious vocabulary. This religious pluralism defined the era, creating a uniquely Greco-Egyptian spiritual world. The Ptolemaic dynasty left behind magnificent temples throughout Upper Egypt. Though Greek rulers, they acted as traditional Egyptian pharaohs, constructing and maintaining houses for the gods. The Ptolemies honoured local deities and employed thousands of Egyptians. This demonstrated their piety and commitment to ancient traditions. Built from sandstone, they followed the New Kingdom blueprint, featuring pylons and peristyle courts. Hypostyle halls led to the sanctuary housing the god's statue. Walls displayed reliefs and hieroglyphs depicting the king as pharaoh. The Temple of Horus at Edfu is the most complete surviving temple. It offers a glimpse into the period's architecture and rituals. Another jewel is the Temple of Isis on Philae. Dendera and Kom-Ombo temples further showcase the dynasty's building. These temples reveal the Ptolemaic rulers' dual identity. They performed rites practiced for millennia. These temples symbolize the Ptolemaic synthesis. The Ptolemaic Kingdom's military was a formidable force, guaranteeing security and projecting influence. The army reflected the kingdom's Greco-Egyptian character. At its core was a professional standing army based on the Macedonian model. One fearsome element was its corps of war elephants. Expeditions captured and trained these beasts, used to break enemy formations. The psychological impact of armoured elephants was immense. The army relied on foreign mercenaries and a Greek ruling class. Before the Battle of Raphia, Ptolemy IV recruited native Egyptians. This empowered the Egyptian population, contributing to nationalist sentiment and revolts. The Ptolemaic Kingdom's dominance was due to its powerful and technologically advanced navy. Egypt, with its long Mediterranean coastline, was a natural maritime power. Their fleet was the largest and most sophisticated in the Mediterranean, allowing them to control the sea lanes. The Ptolemaic fleet was based in well-equipped harbours, with Alexandria as the main naval base. The ships themselves were marvels of Hellenistic engineering. These were fast, manoeuvrable warships designed for ramming. The Ptolemies were also famous for constructing gigantic polyremes, colossal warships. These behemoths were powerful tools of propaganda. It protected the vital shipping routes that brought immense wealth into the kingdom. It allowed the Ptolemies to maintain control over their overseas territories. In times of war, the fleet could transport troops and blockade enemy ports. The control of Cyprus in particular was crucial. This naval dominance was a key factor in the Syrian wars against the Seleucid Empire. The Ptolemaic navy allowed Egypt to support its allies and raid enemy coastlines. The Ptolemaic fleet was a clear signal of the kingdom's power. The Ptolemaic kingdom's power was built on the Nile's fertile land and a tightly controlled economy. The Ptolemies boosted agriculture with new crops and irrigation, making Egypt the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. Alexandria and Red Sea ports turned Egypt into a global trade hub, taxing exotic imports and exporting grain. The king monopolized key industries: papyrus, textiles, oil, brewing, mining, ensuring profits flowed straight to the royal treasury. Greek-speaking bureaucrats managed every detail, but this efficiency came at a cost: heavy taxes and labor demands on ordinary Egyptians. This wealth funded armies and monuments, but the system's inequalities would eventually fuel unrest. Under Ptolemy IV, weak leadership and corruption eroded the kingdom's stability. In a desperate move, native Egyptians were armed for the Battle of Raphia, winning the war but awakening their sense of power. Soon after, Upper Egypt erupted in rebellion, breaking away under native pharaohs for nearly 2 decades. The Ptolemies fought to regain control, draining resources and shattering unity. Even after the revolt ended, unrest and banditry plagued the countryside. The government, weakened and divided, struggled to maintain order. The once stable kingdom was now fractured, its foundations crumbling. As Egypt faltered, Rome's power surged across the Mediterranean. Seeking protection, Ptolemy V made Egypt a Roman client state, its independence now a mere illusion. Roman intervention repeatedly saved the dynasty, but at the cost of sovereignty. The infamous Day of Eleusis showed Rome's dominance. A Roman envoy forced a Seleucid king to withdraw from Egypt with a simple ultimatum. Ptolemaic rulers became pawns, their fate decided in the Roman Senate. Internal dynastic feuds played out for Roman amusement and advantage. As Rome descended into civil war, Egypt became a prize for ambitious generals like Caesar and Antony. The kingdom was no longer a player, but the board on which Rome's final struggles unfolded. Cleopatra VII, the last Ptolemy, was brilliant, ambitious and determined to restore Egypt's glory. She allied with Julius Caesar, securing her throne and bearing him a son, Caesarion. After Caesar's death, she partnered with Mark Antony, ruling the East and dreaming of a new empire. Their alliance provoked Rome. Octavian declared war, painting Cleopatra as a dangerous foreign queen. At Actium, Antony and Cleopatra's forces were crushed. Facing defeat, they took their own lives as Octavian's legions closed in. With their deaths, the Ptolemaic dynasty ended and Egypt became a Roman province. The Ptolemies' rule ended, but their legacy endured. Their temples, Edfu Dendera Philae, preserved Egyptian art and religion. The Library of Alexandria made Egypt the intellectual heart of the ancient world, shaping science and philosophy for centuries. Greek and Egyptian cultures fused, influencing art and spreading the cult of Isis across the Roman Empire. Their administrative system, centralized, efficient and exploitative, became the model for Roman rule. Egypt remained the empire's breadbasket, its wealth and knowledge outliving the dynasty. The Ptolemies left a mark on history, carved in stone and memory. The Ptolemaic dynasty had strange traditions, most notably royal sibling marriage. Beginning with Ptolemy II and his sister Arsinoe II, many Ptolemaic kings married their sisters, imitating the divine marriages in Egyptian mythology. This reinforced the dynasty's status and kept power within the family. Another peculiar aspect was the repetitive use of names like Ptolemy, Cleopatra, or Berenice. Historians use epithets to distinguish them, like Ptolemy II Philadelphus or Ptolemy VIII Euergetes II, nicknamed Potbelly. The Ptolemies also maintained a unique core of war elephants, sourcing smaller African forest elephants. These elephants became a symbol of Ptolemaic power. With Cleopatra's death in 30 BC, Egypt was annexed by Octavian, soon to be Emperor Augustus. The transformation was immediate. Egypt became the Roman emperor's personal property. Its wealth flowed directly into his treasury. Egypt was the empire's breadbasket, its resources under absolute control. Culturally, the Roman era saw a continuation of the Greco-Egyptian synthesis. Mummy portraits flourished, combining Egyptian mummification with Greco-Roman portraiture. Roman emperors were depicted as pharaohs in temples. Egypt's primary role became economic, to produce grain to feed Rome. The land of the pharaohs was now a cog in the machine of Roman power. Our journey through the history of the Ptolemaic Kingdom has taken us from its founder, Ptolemy I Soter, to its last queen, Cleopatra VII. For 3 centuries, this Macedonian Greek dynasty ruled over Egypt, presiding over a period of immense wealth and cultural fusion. They built a kingdom that was both a formidable military power and a beacon of Hellenistic civilization. The Ptolemaic pharaohs presented themselves as legitimate successors to Egypt's ancient rulers. Yet the seeds of decay were sown within the dynasty itself, through weak rulers and family rivalries. This internal weakness made the Ptolemaic state vulnerable to the rising power of Rome. With Cleopatra's death, the line of the Ptolemies was extinguished. The last chapter of ancient Egypt had been written by a Greek dynasty. The Ptolemaic Kingdom stands as one of history's most compelling experiments in syncretism. The Ptolemies engaged with Egyptian culture, fusing it with their own traditions, visible in their art and religion. The kingdom represents a bridge between Greece and the Near East. The intellectual fire lit in Ptolemaic Alexandria continues to cast a long shadow. It is a tale filled with larger-than-life characters from Ptolemy I to Cleopatra VII. The physical remains of their rule draw millions of visitors. It shows how cultures can collide and merge, creating new identities. Their story continues to fascinate us to this day. The ancient world is filled with mysteries, lost cities, vanished civilizations, secrets buried beneath the sands of time, but few mysteries capture the imagination like the undiscovered tomb of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Her story is one of power, love and tragedy, a story that continues to fascinate us centuries later. Cleopatra's life was a tapestry woven with political intrigue, romance and, ultimately, tragedy. Her love affair with Roman general Mark Antony shook the foundations of the Roman Republic. Their defeat at the Battle of Actium sealed their fate. Legend has it that Cleopatra chose a serpent's bite to end her own life, rather than face humiliation at the hands of Octavian. History tells us that she and Antony were buried together, their tomb a testament to their love and a symbol of their power. But time, as it often does, has obscured the truth, the location of their shared tomb lost to history. Historians and archaeologists believe that Cleopatra's tomb lies hidden somewhere beneath the bustling streets of modern Alexandria. In Cleopatra's time, this city was a beacon of culture and knowledge, a grand metropolis that rivaled even Rome in its splendor. The city was home to the famed Library of Alexandria, a repository of ancient wisdom and learning, and at its heart stood the tomb of Alexander the Great, a magnificent mausoleum befitting a ruler who conquered most of the known world. It is believed that Cleopatra, eager to associate herself with Alexander's legacy, chose to build her own tomb near his. But Alexandria, once a jewel of the ancient world, has been ravaged by time and tide. Earthquakes, rising sea levels, and the relentless march of urban development have all but erased Cleopatra's Alexandria from the face of the earth. Yet tantalizing clues to the location of her tomb can be found, scattered like fragments of a forgotten map in ancient texts. Greek biographer Plutarch, writing a century after Cleopatra's death, provides us with our most detailed account of her burial. He describes a magnificent tomb adorned with gold and precious stones, located near a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis. This temple, Plutarch tells us, was situated near the royal palace, facing the sea. While these descriptions offer a starting point, the sands of time have shifted, making it difficult to pinpoint the exact location described by Plutarch. Archaeologists have uncovered numerous temples and palaces in Alexandria, but none that perfectly match the biographer Plutarch's description. The search is further complicated by the fact that part of the ancient coastline of Alexandria is now submerged beneath the Mediterranean Sea. It's likely that the temple of Isis, and perhaps even Cleopatra's tomb itself, now lie buried beneath the waves. Despite these challenges, the search for Cleopatra's tomb continues. In recent years, archaeologists have made promising discoveries in the waters off the coast of Alexandria. Sunken ruins, possibly belonging to the royal quarter, have been unearthed, offering a glimmer of hope that Cleopatra's final resting place may one day be found. The allure of Cleopatra's tomb has captivated explorers and treasure hunters for centuries. Early expeditions, often fueled by romantic notions of lost riches, yielded little more than disappointment. The shifting sands of the Egyptian desert seemed to guard their secrets jealously. One of the earliest documented searches was undertaken in the 19th century by Italian explorer Giovanni Battista Belzoni. Belzoni, known for his daring exploits and impressive discoveries, was convinced that he could locate Cleopatra's tomb. He scoured the ancient necropolis of Alexandria, excavating numerous tombs and uncovering countless artifacts. Yet Cleopatra's final resting place eluded him. Belzoni's failure, while disheartening, only served to intensify the mystery surrounding Cleopatra's tomb. Advancements in underwater archaeology opened new avenues for exploration. Archaeologists explored the submerged ruins of Alexandria, discovering the famed Lighthouse of Alexandria. These finds confirmed that a significant portion of ancient Alexandria lay beneath the waves. This had profound implications for the search for Cleopatra's tomb. If Plutarch's account was accurate, the tomb was likely submerged as well. The temple complex of Taposiris Magna, located 30 miles west of Alexandria, has captured the attention of archaeologists. This site, dedicated to Isis, resembles the temple described by Plutarch. Excavations led by Dr. Zahi Hawass have uncovered tunnels and chambers beneath the temple. These structures have fueled speculation that Taposiris Magna could be Cleopatra's final resting place. A nearby burial chamber with gold coins bearing Cleopatra's image has heightened the intrigue. Could this be the breakthrough archaeologists have been waiting for? Only time and further excavation will tell. The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb would be a momentous event, sending ripples of excitement through the world of archaeology and capturing the imaginations of history enthusiasts worldwide. Speculation abounds regarding what treasures might lie hidden within this lost mausoleum. Cleopatra, known for her opulent lifestyle and love of luxury, would have undoubtedly been laid to rest surrounded by objects befitting her status as the last pharaoh of Egypt. Her tomb might contain a dazzling array of jewellery, from intricate gold necklaces adorned with precious stones to elaborate headdresses symbolising her power and divinity. Imagine the sparkle of emeralds, the deep red glow of rubies, and the cool brilliance of sapphires, all crafted into exquisite pieces fit for a queen. Cleopatra's tomb could reveal invaluable insights into ancient Egypt's burial rituals and religious beliefs. The layout, decorations and objects within would shed light on elaborate funerary practices. We might find canopic jars preserved according to ancient beliefs, or a funerary mask for her safe passage to the afterlife. The walls might be adorned with frescoes depicting Egyptian mythology, offering glimpses into Cleopatra's religious beliefs and connection to the gods. One tantalizing possibility is discovering written records within the tomb. Cleopatra might have left scrolls detailing her reign, leadership, or her relationship with Mark Antony. Such a discovery would offer an unprecedented glimpse into her mind. Imagine deciphering these texts, hearing Cleopatra's voice echo through the centuries. Her tomb would unveil artifacts and unlock historical knowledge, changing our understanding of Cleopatra. Cleopatra VII, Philopator, a name echoing beauty, power and tragedy. Born into a kingdom on the brink of chaos, she was a princess before the legend. In 69 BC, the Ptolemaic dynasty was under Rome's control. Cleopatra's childhood was luxurious yet overshadowed by Rome. Her father, Ptolemy I, was a weak ruler, more concerned with pleasures. The young princess observed the vulnerability of her dynasty. Despite turmoil, Cleopatra received an exceptional education. The royal court in Alexandria attracted scholars, philosophers, and artists. Fluent in multiple languages, Cleopatra immersed herself in this intellectual haven. She spent countless hours in the Royal Library of Alexandria, studying various subjects. Engaging in debates, she conversed with learned men and women. This foundation shaped her into a shrewd strategist and captivating orator. As Cleopatra blossomed into a young woman, her intelligence and charisma became increasingly apparent, eclipsing even her brothers. Within the confines of the royal palace, whispers of rebellion began to circulate. Her father's grip on power weakened, challenged by court factions vying for control. The young princess, observant and ambitious, was acutely aware of the shifting political landscape. She witnessed the ruthlessness of her own family, the lengths to which people would go to seize and maintain power. Her own mother, Cleopatra V Tryphena, had secured her position by orchestrating the death of a rival. These experiences, though brutal, served as a harsh education in the realities of power. They ignited within her a steely determination, a will to survive and to rule. At 18, Cleopatra ascended Egypt's throne, her destiny intertwined with her crumbling kingdom. Her reign began as a fragile alliance with her brother Ptolemy I. Cleopatra, a woman of intellect and ambition, craved true power. She envisioned a resurgence of Egypt's former glory. Her intelligence and charisma were her weapons against Roman domination. Cleopatra balanced power, appeasing Rome while reclaiming Egypt's autonomy. Her early years on the throne were a display of political acumen. In 48 BC, a pivotal moment arrived in the form of Julius Caesar, the Roman general who had plunged the Roman Republic into civil war. Cleopatra, recognizing an opportunity, allied herself with Caesar, using her legendary charm and strategic brilliance to secure his support. Their alliance, both political and romantic, sent shockwaves through the ancient world. Caesar, captivated by Cleopatra's intellect and ambition, recognized her value as an ally in the volatile world of Roman politics. Their relationship, cemented by the birth of their son Caesarion, solidified Cleopatra's hold on power and offered Egypt a brief respite from Roman encroachment. But their alliance, built on ambition and mutual benefit, was a dangerous game. Caesar's assassination in 44 BC marked a turning point in Cleopatra's fortunes. The Roman Republic, once again plunged into turmoil, presented both a threat and an opportunity. Cleopatra set her sights on another ambitious Roman general, Mark Antony, a man of considerable power and a key player in the fight to control Rome's destiny. Their meeting, immortalized in history and legend, marked the beginning of a passionate love affair and a formidable political alliance. Together, they challenged the rising power of Octavian, Caesar's heir, their combined forces posing a significant threat to his ambition. Yet, their alliance, built on a foundation of passion and defiance, would ultimately prove to be their undoing. The Battle of Actium, a naval clash of epic proportions, sealed the fate of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Defeated by Octavian's forces, they returned to Alexandria, their dreams of a shared empire shattered. Antony, betrayed and heartbroken, took his own life. Cleopatra, facing the humiliation of capture and parade through the streets of Rome, chose a different fate. Legend tells us that she held a venomous asp to her breast, ending her own life with a final act of defiance. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty came to an end, and Egypt fell under the dominion of Rome. Her tomb, a symbol of her power and the enduring mystery surrounding her life, remains undiscovered, a testament to the enduring allure of this iconic queen. The sands of time have swallowed many secrets, but few hold the allure of Cleopatra's lost tomb. If discovered, it promises a glimpse into a pivotal moment in history, the fall of a dynasty and the dawn of a new era. The treasures it may hold, the stories it could tell, have the power to reshape our understanding of this iconic queen and the world she inhabited. Will we ever unlock the secrets of Cleopatra's final resting place? Will we ever stand before her sarcophagus, gazing upon the face of the woman who captivated Caesar and challenged Rome? The answer lies buried beneath the sands of Egypt, a mystery waiting to be unearthed, a queen awaiting her moment to once again captivate the world. Imagine a place where the golden sands of the desert embrace the life-giving waters of the Nile. A place where the echoes of ancient rituals still resonate within towering stone walls. 60 kilometers north of Luxor, rising majestically from the sands, lies the Dendera temple complex. This sprawling site is not just a collection of stones, it's a portal to a world of gods, pharaohs, and the enduring mysteries of ancient Egypt. This sanctuary, primarily dedicated to the goddess Hathor, the embodiment of love, beauty, music and motherhood, is one of Egypt's best-preserved temple sites, a testament to centuries of unwavering devotion and unparalleled architectural mastery. Its remarkably intact state offers a unique glimpse into the religious practices and artistic achievements of the time. The main temple's colossal facade, adorned with intricate carvings and towering columns, dominates the landscape, a powerful statement of divine presence. Its sheer scale and breathtaking beauty are immediately striking, leaving visitors in awe of the ingenuity and artistry of its builders. Dendera's strategic location on the west bank of the Nile, a region deeply associated with the afterlife and rebirth in ancient Egyptian beliefs, was carefully chosen with profound symbolic intent. Known in antiquity as Unet or Tantere, it served as the capital of Upper Egypt's 6th province, a significant administrative and cultural centre. It was also a vibrant hub of religious activity for millennia, drawing pilgrims and priests alike to participate in elaborate ceremonies and honour the gods. For centuries, the desert sands acted as a protective shroud, preserving Dendera from the ravages of time and the elements. This natural preservation allows us today to step back in time and experience a past that feels remarkably intact, offering an unparalleled connection to ancient Egypt. Unlike the partially ruined complexes of Karnak or Luxor, where much has been lost to the ages, Dendera's exceptional completeness allows us to vividly imagine the world of the pharaohs and their Roman successors, offering a more immersive and comprehensive understanding of their beliefs and practices. Even now, faded colours still cling to the walls and ceilings, whispering stories of vibrant processions and sacred rituals. These remnants of pigment offer a tantalizing hint at the temple's original splendor, a dazzling display of artistic expression. The complex we see today largely dates from the Ptolemaic and Roman periods, reflecting the influence of these later rulers on Egyptian culture and architecture. However, its sacred roots delve much deeper, reaching back to Egypt's earliest dynastic days, suggesting a site of religious significance for millennia. Each ruler who contributed to its construction and embellishment added a chapter to a story thousands of years in the making, leaving their mark on its walls and pillars. Dendera stands as a living chronicle of Egypt's spiritual and political evolution, a testament to the enduring power of its civilization. It is a place where ancient Egyptian traditions met new influences from the Greco-Roman world, creating a unique fusion of artistic and religious expression. It stands as a unique and timeless testament, a beacon of human ingenuity and spiritual aspiration. Dendera is a powerful reminder of the enduring power of faith, the boundless capacity for creativity, and the enduring legacy of ancient Egypt. The construction of Dendera is not just a building project, it's a sprawling saga, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the ambition of rulers across millennia. Its story was written by many hands, a collaborative effort unfolding across generations, each leaving their indelible mark on its stones. The inscriptions themselves offer glimpses into the past, mentioning Old Kingdom rulers like Pepi I, revealing a history that stretches back to the very dawn of Egyptian civilization. These rulers were already restoring a sanctuary that was ancient even in their time, highlighting the cyclical nature of preservation and renewal in Egyptian culture. Later, pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom, with their own visions of grandeur, and those of the New Kingdoms, including the powerful Thutmose III and the celebrated Ramesses II, each left their mark, adding to the temple's rich tapestry of history and devotion. Sadly, many of their structures are mostly lost, either through the ravages of time or incorporated into the later building projects. Their contributions now whispers in the stones. This continuous patronage, spanning across dynasties and centuries, clearly shows Dendera's lasting importance as a sacred site and a symbol of Egyptian identity. It reveals that every dynasty, regardless of its origins or ambitions, sought to honor Hathor, the goddess of love, music and motherhood, and to connect with Egypt's deep traditions. However, the most significant building phase, the one that truly shaped the temple as we see it today, began under the rule of the Ptolemies, the Greek dynasty that followed Alexander the Great. These Ptolemaic rulers, though Greek in origin and culture, astutely embraced Egyptian religion and traditions as a means to legitimize their rule in the eyes of the Egyptian people. It was they who initiated the construction of the Grand Temple of Hathor, a monumental undertaking that would define Dendera for centuries to come. This ambitious project continued for nearly 2 centuries, a testament to the Ptolemies' commitment to integrating themselves into the fabric of Egyptian society. Later, when Rome conquered Egypt, adding it to its vast empire, Roman emperors like Augustus and Nero, following the Ptolemaic example, added their own images and cartouches to the temple walls and even completed the magnificent hypostyle hall, seamlessly blending their legacy with that of ancient Egypt. Dendera's seamless transition from Ptolemaic to Roman patronage is a remarkable example of cultural continuity, and it highlights the extraordinary resilience of Egyptian culture in the face of foreign rule and influence. The temple, like a living organism, absorbed new rulers and their influences, yet remained firmly rooted in its ancient worldview, its core beliefs and traditions. In the end, it stands as a powerful monument to Egypt's unique ability to adapt, endure and inspire awe across the ages, a beacon of cultural strength shining through the sands of time. At Dendera's heart, rising majestically from the sands of time, stands the Temple of Hathor. Its imposing facade hints at the wonders held within, a testament to the ingenuity and artistry of the ancient Egyptians. Remarkably, it is more a preserved marvel than a ruin, offering an unparalleled glimpse into the religious practices and beliefs of a civilization long past. The temple's state of preservation allows us to truly appreciate the grandeur and sophistication of its design. Called the Castle of the Sistrum, a sacred musical instrument, it was believed to be Hathor's earthly home, a tangible bridge between the mortal realm and the heavens above. This temple served as a focal point for worship and connection with the divine. The temple's architecture is deeply cosmic, reflecting the ancient Egyptians' understanding of the universe and their place within it. Every element was carefully considered to create a harmonious and spiritually significant space. The very floors beneath our feet represent the earth, solid and grounding, connecting the temple to the physical world. The towering columns, adorned with plant capitals of lotus and papyrus, symbolize primordial plants, representing the life-giving forces of nature and the fertile lands of Egypt. And the ceilings above are painted to depict the starry sky, a celestial map filled with astronomical symbols and constellations reminding visitors of the vastness of the cosmos. The hypostyle hall, a forest of 24 columns, each meticulously crafted and topped with the serene face of Hathor, creates a profound sense of divine welcome, enveloping visitors in the goddess's gentle presence. The ceiling here is not just decoration, it's a painted map of the heavens, meticulously detailed with astronomical zodiac constellations, charting the sun's daily and yearly journey across the sky. Hathor, the beloved goddess of love, joyous music and nurturing motherhood, was central to Egyptian life. But she was also revered as a fierce protector, a powerful deity who guided souls through the perils of the afterlife, ensuring their safe passage to eternity. The temple was a vibrant center of activity, celebrating all aspects of Hathor's multifaceted nature, hosting elaborate festivals filled with music and dance. It was also a place of healing, where sacred rituals were performed to alleviate suffering and restore balance to the body and spirit. And it served as a conduit for divine wisdom, with oracles delivering prophecies and guidance to those who sought answers from the gods. As visitors progressed through the temple, they moved from the brightly lit hypostyle hall into increasingly darker and more sacred chambers, symbolizing a journey inward towards spiritual enlightenment. This journey culminated in the Holy of Holies, the innermost sanctuary, the most sacred space within the entire temple complex. Only the high priest, the intermediary between the goddess and the people, was permitted to enter this innermost sanctuary to tend to the goddess's cult statue, performing rituals to honor and sustain her divine presence. Every space within the Temple of Hathor was meticulously designed for ritual, reinforcing Hathor's presence and power, ensuring that her influence permeated every aspect of daily life. Today, the Temple of Hathor remains a living symbol of Egypt's rich spiritual imagination, a testament to the enduring power of belief and the remarkable achievements of ancient civilization. On the temple's roof, a small chapel once held the Dendera Zodiac, a masterpiece of ancient astronomy. The original circular bas-relief, now in the Louvre, is a map of the heavens as seen by the Egyptians. It fuses Greco-Roman zodiac signs with traditional Egyptian constellations, blending cultures and knowledge. Planets appear as deities in celestial boats, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. The zodiac's placement in a chapel dedicated to Osiris linked the cycles of stars to death and rebirth. Its circular design symbolized the eternal nature of time and cosmic order. When the zodiac was removed to Paris, it sparked debates about the age of the world and Egypt's scientific legacy. Later analysis dated it to the late Ptolemaic period, around 50 BCE. The Dendera Zodiac remains a unique artifact, revealing the depth of ancient Egyptian astronomy and cross-cultural exchange. It is a testament to the Egyptians' quest to understand their place in the universe. Beyond the Temple of Hathor, Dendera's complex unfolds as a tapestry of sacred spaces. A massive mud brick wall once enclosed the precinct, separating the divine from the everyday. Entering through the Roman-built northern gateway, visitors followed a processional way to the main temple. To the right stands the original birthhouse, or Mamisi, of Nectanebo I, dedicated to the divine birth of Horus and the pharaoh. Nearby, the ruins of a Coptic basilica show how the site was repurposed in Christian times. Behind the main temple, the Roman-era Temple of Isis tells the story of Osiris's death and rebirth under Hathor's protection. The complex also includes a sacred lake for priestly purification and a sanatorium where pilgrims sought healing dreams from Hathor. Dendera was more than a temple. It was a center of worship, healing and community life. Its layers reveal Egypt's evolving spiritual landscape. Deep in the temple's crypts, mysterious reliefs known as the Dendera light have fueled debate for decades. These carvings show bulb-like objects with serpents inside, connected to boxes resembling jade pillars. Fringe theories claim these are ancient electrical devices, explaining how Egyptians lit dark interiors without soot. Mainstream Egyptologists, however, see rich symbolism: the bulb as the sky goddess's womb, the serpent as the sun's creative force, the lotus as rebirth, and the jade as stability. There's no evidence for ancient electricity. No bulbs, filaments or batteries have been found. Egyptians used mirrors and clean-burning lamps for illumination. The Dendera light is a mythological scene, not a technological blueprint. It's a striking example of how ancient art can inspire both wonder and wild speculation. South of the main temple stands the Roman Mamisi, or birth house, one of Dendera's best-preserved buildings. Dedicated to the divine birth of Ai, son of Hathor and Horus, the Mamisi was the stage for rituals celebrating both myth and royal legitimacy. Built by Augustus and decorated by Trajan and Hadrian, its reliefs show Roman emperors as Egyptian pharaohs making offerings to the gods. The building blends Egyptian and Greco-Roman styles, reflecting the era's cultural fusion. Vivid reliefs depict Hathor's pregnancy, Ai's birth, and his presentation to the gods. These scenes reinforce the emperor's divine right to rule Egypt. During festivals, Hathor's statue was carried in procession to the Mamisi, symbolizing the reunion of the divine family. The Mamisi was central to Dendera's religious life and remains a window into Roman Egypt's spiritual world. It stands as a symbol of adaptation and enduring tradition. Dendera's walls and crypts are a treasure trove of history and intrigue. On the rear wall, the only known relief of Cleopatra VII and her son Caesarion shows them presenting offerings, a poignant bid for legitimacy. The temple's 14 crypts hidden below stored sacred objects and are covered in detailed reliefs, protected from centuries of damage. Exploring these chambers reveals the secret workings of the ancient priesthood. The temple's roof too was a ritual space, with chapels and kiosks for ceremonies like the New Year's dawn, when Hathor's statue greeted the rising sun. Modern restoration has uncovered the original vibrant colours of the hypostyle hall's astronomical ceiling, transforming our view of the temple's splendour. Each discovery adds new layers to Dendera's story. The temple continues to yield secrets, connecting us to the rituals and lives of its ancient builders. Dendera is not just a relic, it's a living archive of Egypt's past. Its walls still speak, inviting us to listen and learn. Dendera is more than an archaeological site. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith and culture. For millennia, it bridged the human and divine, witnessing dynasties, empires, and shifting beliefs. Its preservation offers the most complete glimpse of a Greco-Roman temple in Egypt. Dendera's reliefs and architecture are a stone textbook, teaching us about gods, astronomy, politics, and daily life. Today, it inspires tourists, scholars and seekers alike, sparking new questions and interpretations. Debates over the Dendera light and the Zodiac show the site's ongoing role in our quest for knowledge. Standing in the hypostyle hall, beneath Hathor's gaze and a ceiling of stars, you feel a timeless connection. Dendera reminds us that the search for meaning and beauty is eternal. It is not just a monument to the past, but a mirror reflecting our own enduring curiosity. The echo of Dendera's legacy still resonates, inviting us to wonder and explore.